if you haven't been here before. I will try to open questions at the end as long as this doesn't go too long, and I'm going to try to make this as fast as possible anyway. Also, to preface, we are not ever having a conversation around here, or at least we try to avoid it at all costs. The consumer conversation of, well, I like it. Yeah, that is wonderful. So let's get that all out of the way. Let's get all the I like it's out of the way. This is not that conversation, and it never is when we talk about design in the Game Doctor umbrella, because we have now studied and taught everybody that that conversation is a waste of time, because there is no space for that in a deep design conversation. Because your like it's and your don't like it's are true. There's nothing to say about it. You like it, that's cool. Let's get that out of the way. We're not telling you not to. So before you're like, oh, I like this though, or well, people like it. Yes, 100%. Oh, well, people don't like it. That's also true. We're not here to have that conversation. It's very boring and it ends right there. Yes, we all like things and we all don't like things. Cool. So let's keep going. Now that we got that out of the way, let's all shake it out. We are not having that conversation here today, nor are we like almost ever. That being said, today I want to start with giving flowers to Kenny Sons. I am so happy that this dude finally hit the big leagues and finally got the love that he deserves, because not everyone is going to know him for Ball Pit, but he's been dropping very goated games and very ahead of the market and very experimental things for a long time since I've known him. The Circa Infinities and the Twin Peaks and all of that stuff, this dude has been wild and always like taking familiar ideas and doing very much his own thing since the beginning of time. So just like Blobfish, you might recognize another very popular name, these dudes have been ahead of the market and doing really, really cool things and just never got their spotlight for a long time. So I have a soft spot there, man. I'm praying one day that's me, and I think it's the stories that give me hope. It's the stories that give me hope that you can stay your course, not give in. This dude never, this dude never once said, bro, like took his talent and just bit the bullet and said, you know what? Like if I'm going to make it, I just got to give in. Let me just drop a Vampire Survivor like or something like that. He's never done that. He always stayed the course and he always did greatness until finally the light found him. And I think that's phenomenal. And it's so freaking cool. And he's always been so talented. So I have nothing but flowers and greatness. Finally he hit the big leagues, and I'm hoping is now in a super awesome space with how hard this game hit, and I love that. And it's like this crazy long-winded years and years and years or decades long finally got to the success story. Not that any of the other games weren't successful, but you know what I mean, that huge breakpoint. And I love that. And I'll be the first to say, man, this was one of my most anticipated games. And it's one of my favorite games of the year. Ball Pit is one of my favorite games of the year. I think it's so rare and awesome, and this is what he's always done great, is he took these familiar ideas that if you just looked at it for like 2 seconds, you kind of understand because you've seen games like it, like his Twinfold game that kind of looks like threes, and you kind of get it, but it's this wild own thing with a lot of depth and stuff like that. Or if you look at this game, it almost reminds you of one of those Brick Breaker mobile games where you see all the balls shooting at the top and these big squares with a 1000 on it, and they keep getting hit and ticking down. He takes those things and he masterfully does them. That's just what he does. He was the first indie game that I seen mess with extraction things before everybody else started hopping on it. And doing it in his own way, because he understands that extraction and those elements didn't mean be like Tarkov. Greatness recognizes greatness. I could see that he sees those things. And these are things that I've had to learn over years and years and years, so now I can recognize it in other people. And it's phenomenal. This dude is so talented. And whatever he drops is going to be so amazing, and there's going to be something to learn. I think Ball Pit does a great job at taking this arcadey game and making it something that everyone wants to tear into and familiar. Right now, what is very popular is destroying hordes and hordes of enemies with a visual spectacle. Because you don't need to see all the mechanics and what cards we have and how they synergize with each other and how we play them to feel power. You could just literally see power. You could see success. You could see how you're doing. It's very marketable. Because remember that consumers don't understand design. And a lot of times it's hard for them to find the fun. As the gaming industry gets bigger and bigger, we have to remember that more people are coming in and they don't understand all of these things. They don't understand these intricate mechanics, right? They can learn to, but they don't necessarily understand it. We have to remember that the average Joe that comes home and plays Call of Duty with his boys might be picking up these games, right? And we have to market to them as well, not just these hardcore nerds. We need to make it mass marketable, right? If we're after those big leagues. So that being said, that's why these things are so successful. We teach about these things all the time, the visual spectacle. And we call that concept finding the fun. In these kind of games, you don't have to look hard to find the fun. Why do you think the Vampire Survivor games sell so well? You don't have to find the fun, right? They're very much on the surface. So you can see here that this visual spectacle is very much on the surface. It's very easy to see somebody is doing good or somebody's doing bad. Just like in the games of yesteryears, hence this arcadey nature of like watching somebody play Galaga or Pac-Man. You can understand it in like 5 seconds. A spectator can understand this game very quick. So anyway, he does that very well, and it's cool to get a very high premium arcadey game that blows up because these arcadey games are usually very niche. These high score chasers and all this kind of stuff is a very, very niche genre. Actually, if this game never existed, devs would still tell you not to tackle that genre because it doesn't lead to success. Because usually it doesn't. Because usually it does not. It's a very niche genre. Anyway, so making that in a mass consumable product is a feat by itself. And that's so awesome. That's so freaking awesome. Leave it to Kenny's Sons. Not only that, we can then go into the town part and then mix it with this little hook where you build this town. Now, I have my reservations on this, but I'm not unhappy that the town part is there because he does it so cool. What he does is he takes what other games do and just adds a menu, and the menu just says, hey, you give me a couple hours and I'm going to give you this currency to buy +1 damage, and you're going to watch your numbers go up. And they don't put it in world, they just add a menu because it's a lot easier. I don't need to worry about theming and all of that stuff. Well, Kenny Sons is too great for that, and what he does is he makes a meta menu, but he makes it where you're still playing the game and it matches the rest of the game. It's not just a menu attached, which takes a lot more work. So what we have here is this awesome city building part where you're literally putting down different pieces and stuff like that and then bouncing your units against it. You're still interacting with the same theming of the rest of the game. But here it's to make your numbers go up. And this is so cool and original and awesome and like funky, and it's just so ahead of the rest of the industry because it's Kenny Sons, right? That's what he does. He doesn't follow all the sheep. He says, I'm going to show you better. So now other people are going to learn from him because this is what happens when you make something better. A lot of devs say, oh, you have to play it safe in this industry, but that's not true because every game that you want to copy, it was the one that didn't really play it safe. Because you want to be like the Vampire Survivors, and you want to be like the Slay the Spires, and you want to be like all those games that are, you know, super popular, right? But those games were popular because they did something different. Vampire Survivor wasn't just making another Vampire Survivor game. No, he was making Vampire Survivor, the game that everyone was going to copy. Now, we are generalizing because before we get into it, there's going to be at least that one person in the crowd that goes, but there was that one game the Vampire Survivor got the idea from. Who gives a shit? This is how generalization works, right? Yes, there's that one game that nobody cared about, nobody knew, and I recommend everyone do that. If there's an unpopular game, because if a game wasn't popular, that's more reason why people don't want to copy it. They go, yep, you shouldn't do that. So that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's besides the point. Anyway, so all those games that you want to copy are games that done something. They stood out, right? Why do people want to be like the Tiny Rogues and all these other games that we work on now? Is because we designed it that way so that he's a him that everybody wants to copy because we did something new. And we know how to do it and give the market a flavor that they love. But that hasn't been done yet, right? Anyway, so I have nothing but flowers to give. This is so cute. I'm going to get into some of the parts of it now. The city building and stuff never fully paid out for me. It's there, and it's really cute, and your numbers go up, and it's satisfying, and I get why people love it. But when it matches into the game and into the game state, I use it as a glorified unlock screen. And I think that's what most people do, right? Like, this is where you're going to get your new units and stuff like that. And it is really cool. It's cool to get new unit unlocks and stuff in this space, and it's very satisfying. So I do really like it, and I'm so glad that it's here. That being said, my biggest gripe with the game and my biggest letdown is it didn't go the full mile. And I know a lot of games that do that. It didn't go the full mile. I feel like it went the 90%. We finally get to the end of the game, and you can beat this game in like 2 sittings or whatever, and I never once really maximized my town, as you can see behind me. The only thing I did care about is when I was going to get an unlock, like a cool unlock. Well, people say, oh, well, it makes your stats go up. Yeah, that's the bit to get you hooked. That's, you know, you give stats and you show it to make the consumers hooked on it and make it feel like it's doing something. But in run and stuff, you don't really care. You're just picking what you're going to pick, and you're making the synergies you're going to synergize with. Actually, while you're drafting and stuff like that, you can't even see your stats. That's for a reason, because it doesn't matter. None of it matters, right? As long as you're interacting with it and your stuff is going up, it doesn't matter. It gets to the point where when you finally beat the game, I was waiting for the whole Kenny Son's hook. Where is the game going? Why do we have all this stuff? Because here I am beating the game, and here I am going through all of this stuff, which is, you know, what you get in the demo, but different flavors of it. And I was waiting for the big payout because I still have all these buildings and all these things I didn't care about yet, right? We still have all these like infinite stats going up and all these things, right? I have these buildings that literally say you can infinitely scale me and infinitely get stats and all these other things that up my damage ratios and letters and extra scaling. I have all these things that I didn't interact with. So I'm like, oh my God, here it comes, the big twist. Right? So we finally beat the game, and what is the big twist? What is finally going to make me care, and I can't wait to level up all of this stuff and care about my city and get stats and stuff? What is happening? And what do I find out? It's the old Triple G. It's the old Triple G content. And what do I mean by the Triple G content? The Grinding Gear Games special. We finally beat the game, and what do we unlock? New game +1. Care about stats more. Give me more time. Now, this is an age-old trick. As a consumer, you might be going, well, I like that stuff. And again, you can leave that conversation at the door. That's totally nice. Whatever you like, you like. That's the end of that conversation. And whoever doesn't like it, doesn't like it. So we're not here to have that conversation because it's very boring and it doesn't go anywhere. That's actually a semantic stop sign. So when you're having a deep design conversation, a lot of people will try to semantic stop sign you and they go, well, I like it because it's a stop sign. Because whatever they're saying is 100% true. It has nothing to do with anything. It's like me saying the sky is blue. What are you going to say about it? It just ends the conversation. That being said, what I finally find is the Triple G problem. I instantly got sad because I've seen this a million times before. What this is a very cheap way to create longevity and content. Now, I want to preface with the new game +1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. I'm not upset that it exists and it's there. If you could just throw out the bird, you know, bread for birds and they come eat it. If I could just throw out this easy to make thing that will just give people that don't think about it extra content. No, I'm not upset it's there. Just like I don't like sandbox difficulties, but I'm happy that sandbox difficulties are there. There's a difference. I think they're very important to have, but it doesn't mean that it's a substitute. So that being said, just seeing that the difficulties go, hey, enemies have extra HP. That's why you have stats and stuff. You could chase the stat ups. Now, you guys realize that if every game copied this trick to have tons of content, every game could have infinite content, right? You guys do see this as a parlor trick. And I call this the Triple G complex, right? I challenge you guys to go watch a Triple G talk about a brand new update or anything like that. And I guarantee you're gonna hear something like, hey, you can interact with this new mechanic to take on increased difficulty for increased rewards. And I promise you, they say this a lot. Now, they never talk about what difficulty is and increased rewards. Now, these two happen in Ball Pit. This is the trick. I'm gonna reveal the curtain. You know how there's like a magic trick, but then once you reveal the magic, it gets like spoiled? I'm gonna reveal that magic trick for you. So if you don't want that magic trick and that fallacy to go away, like how they make the coin disappear, the bunny come out of the hat, then you're gonna wanna stop listening because I'm gonna reveal that trick to you. It's actually not that complicated. So what we do is we go, hey, enemies have increased difficulty, right? And now sometimes in games that are not like, that need infinite content and they need to keep that person there for long periods of time, we do is we'll look for cheaper ways to do that. So what we'll do is we'll say, hey, these enemies are scarier. They have more HP and they hit harder, right? So those numbers go up. And we're like, oh, come get it. It's harder. This is new game +5. So what this does is it creates a want. It creates a need. Hey, I'm not strong enough. So what do I need to do? Oh my God, I need my stats to go up. So then I care about the stats, which we created already, right? But I just need to create higher stats for you to go chase. So now we look for an answer. I need to go chase those numbers. So I'm gonna make my numbers go up and chase those numbers. And then what happens after we chase those numbers? Surprise, the bunny comes out of the hat. Maps 6, map 7, new game +1, new game +2. Look at the infinite content. Now, if we follow that logic, you guys can see where this is going. Every game could have infinite content then. Because we're not really doing anything. We're just making numbers go up and then making you chase those numbers, right? It's a carrot on the string. I'm not saying that there's a problem with liking that stuff, but I am talking about it for what it is. And this is why I was very disappointed, because that's below Kenny Sons. Kenny Sons is great, and this game is great. And so when I'm finally interacting, I'm finally asking for a reason to care about all these buildings and stuff, and I'm waiting for the big plot twist. What do I get? I get the Triple G syndrome. Hey, numbers are going up, and you can chase those numbers. Look at all the content. And then the consumers go, wow, it has so much content, new game +20. And now I'm not mad if you like it, right? I eat McDonald's once in a while, right? I get it. Like, I get why it's there, but I could also, you know, I want to talk about it in depth and design standpoint. That is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to design, right? It's the chicken feed, and that's disappointing, right? And I'm hoping that some of you have at least a little bit of an analytical thinking lens, whether you like it or not, because I'm saying I like it too, but it doesn't mean we can't talk about it analytically. Why I'm very disappointed. Because that sucks. There was no payout. There is no reason to infinitely scale. Oh, but Esty, the reason is new game +5. The numbers go up. So what? Then there's infinite content? Is this the best game ever? Look at the infinite content. No, this is just a number generator thing, right? Like, and so if I turn my brain upside down and I think of it not how we market games, but my own type of marketing in a real world for what it is, and if you think about it all of a sudden as an incremental game, this is one of the coolest incremental games ever. We're finally doing things with incremental games and not following the same formula. And when I think about it that way, it does make me a lot happier, right? This is a new age, new form, interactive, incremental game. And what I've been calling these is loopers. It's a looper, right? It's a new genre, and it's a genre that's more focused on the loop and getting through the loop than this like infinitely replayable game. It's an incremental game, right? Like you're gonna get to kind of like the end, like Norp's epilogue or whatever it's called, right? You get to the end and you beat the game. There is an ending, right? And what you do is you go through a loop until you get to that ending. And that's how I felt here, right? If I think about it as a very advanced incremental game, it's phenomenal, right? It's something brand new. We're gonna make the numbers go up and it's still interactable and it's based on its loop, and then you get to the end and it's done. When I think of it as a looper, a game focused not on being like replayable or run-based, but more it's focused on that loop, it makes a lot more sense. So that's why I'm here to talk about and just shed some light on what is the triple G problem. The triple G problem is this kind of gold feed, chicken feed, chase increased difficulty, but we don't know how to create difficulty, so we just make numbers go up and hope you care. And we're just here to talk about it. That's why I'm disappointed. There was no payout for me, and there was no big hook. I thought we were finally gonna get some run-based game where we pick stats and run, and pick upgrades and run and have to go through like 5 biomes together, or maybe something even more advanced where we go through areas and after we level up a couple times we get to draft buildings and we get to make our city in the middle of a run. Then we go to another biome and then we get to draft more buildings and we gotta roll with what we get and make it cool. And then all of a sudden I care about my city in every shot, right? Because I need it to count, because I don't get to infinitely farm. I thought we were finally gonna get that payout because it makes so much sense and it's all there, but we never got it. We just got a really cool incremental game. So that being said, this is one of my favorite games of the year. When I talk about things analytically, I know a lot of consumers go, well, if he doesn't have 100% nice things to say, he hates it. No, this is one of my favorite games of the year, but it doesn't mean it's not without its problems and caveats. So I hope I got to shed some light on the triple G problem and how this game let me down at the end, but also why it's one of my favorite games and giving flowers to one of the GOATs of our times, Kenny Suns. So hope you guys enjoyed.